Okay. So this is me recording the audio for the video after the fact because the microphone's still turned off, unfortunately. So we're heading off from Winterhold across the map to do some other quests, like retrieving the horn of Jürgen Windcaller. So off we go, and first we come across some wolves. Well, one ice wolf. The visibility is very poor because there's a blizzard, which means that you can't really see enemies, but it also means that the enemies can't see you. There could be something very dangerous and we wouldn't see it. Just heading west across the snowfield. Might not quite be able to see what it is that I'm shooting at. There's the wolves over there. Awesome arrow cam. Now that's how the arrow cam's supposed to work. Sometimes it doesn't quite work as it's supposed to. In fact, sometimes you start to get one of those kill cam effects, and then the game decides, no, actually you missed and you didn't kill them. I don't know, it might be difficult for me to get this audio to sync exactly with the video. If there are any syncing problems, then apologies. It's kind of because I had to take the original audio off and then try and clean it up to get rid of some of the background buzzing noise that's left over from having the mic turned off, and then record this audio commentary alongside of it and then put it back on. And also this video has been edited, so it's slightly different length, but the main problem is starting the video to watch it and then starting by pressing record. I can't like press both buttons simultaneously which is really what you want to be able to do. I still haven't figured out how you're supposed to get over that problem, which one's best to start first or what. Now you may see a strange object up in the sky there, and I was wondering to myself, what on earth is that? So I stood and had a look at it. It's a book. It's a book floating in the air. No reason it should be up there. Don't know where it came from. There shouldn't even be a book anywhere near here. I don't know who that is. There's somebody that's like, as long as you don't get too close to them, they won't get hostile. No idea who they are. Don't need a fight with them. don't think the book's got anything to do with them either. Yeah, based on how they were dressed, I can't really tell who that person was. Anyway, so as you can see, we've got a quest marker there, Ustengrav, to get the off the go, and that book's still floating in the air there. You can just about still see it even with the blizzard. Oh yeah, there was a dwarven ruin there that I was pointing at, which I didn't visit, but that dwarven ruin, you can't really get into it at the moment anyway. I think that's part of a later quest, so ignore the dwarven ruin. Yeah, we passed by close to it, but we didn't bother to go in and like actually discover the location, which would allow us to fast travel back to it. Which was a little bit silly really. Should have just detoured slightly out of the way and discovered it. Wouldn't have hurt. There's a giant with his mammoth. As previously mentioned, giants are peaceful so long as you maintain your distance. They only become hostile if you get too close. And down here there's some kind of a fort. Which fort? It's Fort Fellhammer, isn't it? No, it's Driftshade Refuge. Just goes to show. Not Fort Fellhammer at all. But anyway, there it is. And someone from the Silver Hand has been hanging out there. Finish him off with some arrows, and there's another one up there. Critical strike. That's the end of him. Charged skeever hide. But I don't really want the silver sword, do I? The significance of the Silver Hand will become clear later. So I think this other fort down here is Fort Fellhammer. Visibility is so bad in this blizzard, my goodness. Yep, and that guy is a bandit. There are bandits at Fort Fellhammer. There's me trying to shoot them through such bad visibility. Might not be able to see, but I just took that one down. You see? Crawling with enemies, this place. See, I didn't even see the guy up there because of all the snow. He's shooting me with an arrow and I still haven't spotted him. Can you see him? There he is. See, he just blends straight into the stonework behind him. Don't know why I get into these archery competitions really. I mean, Look at that, I've only got half my health left. Time to heal myself up. That object there next to the stairs is a smelter. And where I was talking about needing to be able to smelt ore, well, that's what you use to smelt ore. So there you go, see, at a smelter you can smelt ore raw materials into metal ingots which are required to create and improve weapons and armour. So let's see what I can smelt, so I can make myself some iron ingots. You only need 1 iron ore to make an iron ingot, so I'm able to make 5 iron ingots with the iron ore that I had picked up. But the gold, you need 2 ore to make 1 ingot. So I had 3 gold ore and I was only able to make 1 ingot with it. And then I'm left with 1. Now that's an expert lock. I realised quickly that I don't want to break my lockpicks trying to break in there. And I'm very glad that that's the case, because I'm just going to leave Fort Valhammer now. But spoiler alert, that's not the last of Fort Valhammer in this game. Later on we'll pick up a bounty on the bandit leader at Fort Valhammer and we'll come back. And then you'll get to see inside. But not today. So I go up this far just to loot this guy, or a chalcum ingot. Really don't know why I'm bothering with all these ingots, because my smithing skill is fairly pants and I would just have to like make a bunch of stuff that I don't really need just to get it up. Mainly I've been making jewellery, which helps train my smithing and then gives me jewellery which I can enchant, which helps me train my enchantment, and then I can sell it to make money, which I can spend on things that I do want, like lockpicks and soul gems and spell tomes. So that works quite well. But faffing around making like iron daggers and iron swords, even enchanted ones, is, well, let's just say it's not as profitable. I guess I just keep thinking one of these days I'll start training me smithing. Will I though? That's the question. Right. Let's get rid of these spiders. Gonna try and soul trap this other spider. That was successful. Where am I going? I should be trying to head east, but the frostbite venom off of the spider is still useful. Eventually you get high enough level that the stuff you're fighting just shrugs off the venom of a frostbite spider. Right, so there's a building up here. Hall of the Vigilant.
Stendar's mercy be upon you, for the vigil has none to spare. The vigil will be watching you.
The mercy of Stendar does not extend to Daedra worship.
And you see, I knocked that item, but
Stendar's mercy be upon you, for the vigil has none to spare.
it doesn't act like I did something bad
I am
there.
the keeper of the vigil here in Skyrim. We bring Stendar's mercy to the innocent, and his justice to the Daedra.
So I ask who's Stendar.
He is the god of mercy, the patron of order and justice for all of Tamriel. We bring his compassion where none can be found, by cleansing all those who would offend his children.
And then I ask for some training and restoration.
I'll gladly share my knowledge with you.
But the I decide that it's worth training restoration. Worth training restoration because I do heal myself quite often, so the higher your restoration level, then the better. And off we go. Yeah, they're very down on Daedra worshippers and Daedra in general, the Vigil of Stendar. So we can't be telling them I've been doing any of the Daedric quests. Not sorry, they wouldn't like that. Of course, at this point, the only Daedric quest I've done is... Oh wait a minute, have we even done a Daedric quest yet at this point? It's difficult to know, because obviously I'm recording this a little later, so... Yeah, if you think things look like they jumped a bit there, you're correct. I edited part of the video out, because basically I went off and died, and then realised I'd forgotten to autosave, so I had to go back and like repeat a whole bit. And you really don't need to waste your time watching me repeat bits of the game. Where possible, I can edit that out when it's you know, something that was just a pointless having to repeat it because you just suddenly died to some random encounter. These are the guys. So this time we should take them out. Staggered them and then completely wasted the initiative that I got myself there. I don't know why I didn't just make better use of that. That shout doesn't do any damage at all. It only staggers the opponents. Now, that finished him off. And I heal myself up. Off we go again. to be veering north here. Ah yes, I'm going to visit this bear claw thing. What does the bear claw stand for? It stands for the Stormcloak encampment. And at this stage I haven't declared allegiance to either the Imperial cause or to the Stormcloak cause, so I can pass through here without any issues. Hjalmarch Stormcloak camp discovered. There we go. Now, when I played through the first time, I was a Nord, and so it made sense for me to join the Stormcloak Rebellion and follow Ulfric. This time round, because it's a second playthrough and I want to do things differently, and my character's not a Nord, he's a Bosmer, I think I'm going to play as the Imperial Legion. I mean, when it comes time to. Right, so here we are at Ustengrav, and we've got bandits and necromancers. Like, are they going to fight each other? I don't know. Now you see, the necromancers have been raising the bandits, as that female one was actually like some kind of zombie. Don't think the male one was. Oh, that was a lucky strike. Got quite a few skill bumps there. Now, I haven't noticed it at this point in the game, but you might have noticed that my follower Feindal is only fighting with his little dagger, and that's because he's run out of arrows, and I haven't noticed. Indeed, I could have been giving him much better equipment, but I forgot all about the fact that I can give my follower equipment, not just get him to carry stuff for me. That's me forgetting which hand's which. There'll be a lot of that. And that is what you call poetic justice, where I used a raise zombie spell on a necromancer. You know, as you did to others, so shall be done to you. That's why I did that. Here he comes, following me. Anybody would put snowberries in a barrel, I don't know. Anyway, this is one of the places we need to be, Ustengrav. And that's me forgetting which of my hands is which again. Let's get that bandit up. That is more a case of making sure that the necromancers down here can't raise him, rather than him being much use to me, because as you can see, the enemies are too far away and he hasn't detected them, so he's not running after them. I mean, I'm firing at them, but a zombie's not too bright, so I'm just sneak attacking them, and I'll sort that level up out once I've finished my combat here, I think. Nice little critical strike, and finally zombie. Now see that Feindal's having to charge into melee when he should have been firing arrows, because he's out of arrows. I'm firing at the one that's still at the back there. You can barely see them at the back of the cave, but I can see them. See, that's not my zombie, that's one that they raised. Interestingly, when I raise a zombie, right, they can't talk, and when they die they just like collapse into a pile of ash. They say they can't talk. They really can't talk. They make a sort of zombie noise instead. But I think they must be using a higher level spell to raise them or something, because when they raise them, they've still got the normal bandit dialogue, like "you'll be a lot easier to rob when you're dead" and that type of thing. And when they die, they leave a corpse. And that's the end of you. Oh, that's what I'm noticing anyway. See, that was a dead outlaw that was raised by one of those necromancers. And now we'll do the level up. So improve our stamina, and we want to improve our light armor skill as well, because we need to be good with our light armor to protect ourselves. I mean, heavy armor protects you better, but it slows you down and uses a lot of stamina. So one of the good things about sticking with the light armor is, you know, how I run around everywhere and I don't use a horse. I can actually run quite fast because I'm in light armor. It would be a lot more time consuming if I was in heavy armor. I'd run slower. See, that's the zombie noise. Did you hear it? Yeah, I'm carrying too much, so
I'm right behind you.
I'll give Feindal some stuff.
If you want me to carry it.
And that's when I spot that, oh look, he doesn't appear to have any arrows. But I give him a bunch of stuff that is completely useless for him to be carrying because he can't use it, but at least it gets it out my inventory and lightens me up a bit, which is important. I usually get him to carry all the crafting ingredients because we can always stop and swap them over if we get to a crafting station like a workbench or a smelter or something. Did I notice? No, apparently that's not where I noticed that he doesn't have any arrows. That's later on. So I switched the elven gauntlets because they're better armour. And they're super light. I don't know whether you noticed, they only weigh a pound, elven gauntlets. It's really good. You'd expect they'd weigh more than that. Elves are very clever, you see. And I'm not just saying that because I'm playing an elf. But nobody likes high elves though, because they're snooty. But I'm not a high elf, I'm a wood elf. Oops, and I accidentally hit Feindal. Oh my goodness. See, I took this lightning spell and a lightning axe because I thought it was going to be fighting spellcasters, that like the necromancers that were down here, and all of a sudden I run into a bunch of Draugr. And that was not what I intended to do because I forgot which hand was which again. wielding 2 axes. See, there were spellcasters down here, but the Droga helped kill them. Blackbriar Mead, which I pick up despite the fact that I never really drink alcoholic beverages because they give you stamina but then reduce the rate at which your stamina recharges. Plus you can get drunk drinking them, so I'm nearly always like, nah, I think I'll get my stamina back some other way. At some point, obviously, probably when I'm in a town or something, maybe I will drink a load of mead so you can see what happens. If I do it when I'm in Whiterun, I can like go to my house and sleep it off. It's a room full of urns. Don't open the empty urn. Don't be silly. There's nothing in that urn. It's empty. It says that one. That's the zombie noise. That's one of the bizarre things about these games, is that when you look at a container, if it's empty, it tells you it's empty before you've even looked in it. A lot of people joke about that, like, how do you know it's empty when you haven't even looked in it? Potion. I'm never sure whether that's my character yawning or whether that's Findal yawning. That was actually me yawning just then. It's quite late that I'm recording this audio commentary, but I want to get it finished. Ah yes, this is where I read The Mystery of Talara Part 2. Unfortunately I haven't read Part 1 yet, but bear it in mind, we might find it at some point. So, Mystery of Princess Talara Part 2. She felt nothing, darkness enveloping her body and mind. Pain surged through her leg, and with that sensation a great feeling of cold washed over her. She opened her eyes and saw that she was drowning. Her left leg would not move at all, but using her right one and her arms, she pulled herself up towards the moons above. It was a long way through the swirling currents that wrenched back at her. At last she broke the surface and sucked in the cold night air. She was still close to the rocky shoreline of the capital city of the kingdom of Camlorn, but the water had carried her quite a ways from the point where she fell at Cavalstair Rock. Not fell, she thought, correcting herself. She'd been pushed. Further down current, she allowed herself to drift. There, the steep cliff walls sloped lower until they were close to the water's edge. The silhouette of a large house on the shore loomed ahead, and as she neared it she could see smoke rising from the chimney and the flicker of firelight within. The pain in her leg was great, but greater still was the chill of the water. The thought of a warm hearth fire was all the motivation she needed to begin swimming again. At the shore's edge she tried to stand, but found she couldn't. Her tears mixed with the seawater as she began to crawl across the sand and rock. The simple white sheet which had been her costume at the flower festival was tattered, and felt like a weight of lead across her back. Beyond the point of exhaustion, she fell forward and began to sob. "Please," she cried, "if you can hear me, please help." A moment later the door to the house opened, and a woman stepped out. It was Ramka, the old lady she'd met at the flower festival, the one who'd started and cried, "It's her!" even before she herself knew who she was. By contrast, when the old woman came to her this time, there was no glimmer of recognition in her eyes. base. "Sethiete, are you hurt?" Ramka whispered, and helped her up, acting as her crutch. "I've seen that gown before. Were you one of the dancers at the flower festival tonight?" "I was there with Lady Gilia Rada, the daughter of the king." "I know, she introduced us," she groaned. "I called myself Gina of Daggerfall." "Of course! I knew you looked familiar somehow." The old woman chuckled, and led her hop by hop across the beach and into the front door. "My memory isn't as good as it used to be. Let's get you warm and have a look at that leg." Ramka took Gina's soaking rags and covered her with a blanket as she sat at the fire. As the numbness of the chill water began to leave her, it cruelly abandoned her to the intense agony of her leg. Until then she had not dared to look at it. When she did, she felt vomit rise at the sight of the deep gash, fish-white dead flesh, plump and swollen. Thick arterial blood bubbled up, splashing on the floor in streams. "Oh dear," said the old woman, returning to the fire. "That must rather sting. You're lucky that I still remember a little of the old healing spells." Ramka seated herself on the floor and pressed her hands on either side of the wound. Gina felt a flare of pain, and then a cool soft pinching and prickle. When she looked down, Ramka was slowly sliding her wrinkled hands toward one another. At their approach, the lesion began to mend before her eyes, flesh binding and bruises fading. "Sweet Kinnereth," Gina gasped, "you've saved my life." "Not only that, you won't have an ugly scar on your pretty leg," Ramka chuckled. "I had to use that spell so many times when Lady Gilia was little. You know, I was her nursemaid." "I know," Gina smiled, "but that was a long time ago, and you still remember the spell." "Oh, when you're learning anything, even the School of Restoration, there's always a lot of study and mistakes, but once you're as old as I am, there's no longer any need to remember things. You just know. After all, I've probably cast it 1,000 times before. Little Lady Gilia and the little Princess Talara was always getting cut and bruised. Small wonder the way they was always climbing all over the palace." Gina sighed. "You must have loved Lady Gilia very much." "I still do," Ramka beamed, "but now she's all grown and things are different. You know, I didn't notice it before because you were all wet from the sea, but you look very much like my lady. Did I mention that before when we met at the festival?" "You did," said Gina, "or rather I think you thought I looked like Princess Talara." "Oh, it would be so wonderful if you were the princess returned," the old woman gasped. "You know, when the former royal family was killed and everyone said the princess was killed, though we never found the body, I think the real victim was Lady Gilia. Her little heart just broke, and for a while it looked like her mind did too." "What do you mean?" asked Gina. "What happened?" "I don't know if I should tell a stranger this, but it's fairly well known in Camlorn, and I really feel like I know you." Ramka struggled with her conscience and then released. "Gilia saw the assassination, you see. I found her afterwards, hiding in that terrible blood-stained throne room, and she was like a little broken doll. She wouldn't speak, she wouldn't eat. I tried all my healing spells, but it was quite beyond my power. So much more than a scraped knee." Her father, who was then Duke of Ologne, sent her to a sanitarium in the country to get well. "That poor little girl," cried Gina. "It took her years to be herself again," said Ramka, nodding, "and in truth she never really returned altogether. You wonder why her father when he was made king, didn't make her his heir. He thought that she was still not exactly right, and in a way, as much as I would deny it, he's correct to think so. She remembered nothing at all." "Do you think," Gina considered her words carefully, "that she would be better if she knew that her cousin, the Princess Talara, was alive and well?" Ramka considered it. "I think so, but maybe not. Sometimes it's best not to hope." Gina stood up, finding her leg to be as strong as it looked to be. Her gown had dried, and Ramka gave her a cloak, insisting she protect herself against the cold night air. At the door, Gina kissed the old woman's cheek and thanked her, not only for the healing spell and for the cloak, but for everything else of kindness she had ever done. The road close to the house went north and south. To the left was the way back to Camlorn, where secrets lay, to which she alone held the key. To the south was Daggerfall, her home for more than 20 years. She could return there, back to her profession on the streets, very easily. For a few seconds She considered her options and then made her choice. She had not been walking for very long when a black carriage drawn by 3 horses bearing the imperial seal, together with 8 mounted horses, passed her. Before it rounded the wooded pass ahead, it stopped suddenly. She recognised one of the soldiers as Norbooth, Lord Strail's manservant. The door opened, and Lord Strail himself, the Emperor's ambassador, the man who had hired her and all the other women to entertain at court, stepped out. "You," he frowned. "You're one of the prostitutes, aren't you? You're the one who disappeared during the flower festival? Gina, am I right?" "All that is true," she smiled sourly, "except my name." "I've discovered is not Gina." "I don't care what it is," said Lord Strail. "What are you doing on the South Road? I paid for you to stay and make the kingdom merry." "If I went back to Camlorn, there are a great many who wouldn't be merry at all." "Explain yourself," said Lord Strail. So she did, and he listened. Yes. So that's it's an interesting story. That's part 2 of the story. There are many other parts to it. I'll just check where it is that I'm going. Looks like there's somewhere up there. Go back and try and look to see what that path is and where it goes. Not on that one. What's in this one? And yet we know that there isn't. Of course, at the end of the room there is what looks like a secret door, but there is no way to open it from this side. A secret door that cannot be opened from this side. We shall have to leave that. Almost certainly it will be part of the route back here from wherever we end up actually going to do this quest. So now we continue. Casting an armor spell. Sort of see a gap through into the little secret passage there. We'll sneak it down here. And some gold on a table. You have to pick all the coins up separately, but every little helps. And this is a secret door we can open from here. There you go. You can also open it from this side, presumably. I spotted that my armor spell had worn off, so I renewed it. You get like a little sort of cyan flash over the surface of your body when it wears off, and when it's active you can see there's like a very slight glow over me and my weapon. That represents the activity of the protective armor spell. The downside to casting it is that it makes a noise when you cast it. It's quite a noisy cast. Some spells you can cast more quietly. This one is a noisy spell, and if you're sneaking, sometimes just casting it will alert all the enemies. Tunnels. So you need to go forward, then left, then right. Forward, then left, then right. Up the stairs. There we go. So far so good. Right. Oh. Here we go. Got some undead popping out of their coffins. I'm going to switch to, yeah, an offensive spell. Yep, changed my mind, decided to use a bow because it's not coming for me. It didn't detect me. It popped out of its coffin, but it hadn't detected me. That wasn't why that had happened. And there's another one. Here it comes. It heard what happened over there, so it came to investigate. And this one, despite getting my sneak attack bonus and shooting it in the head, didn't go down with one arrow because it was tougher. Yeah, it's the restless Draugr. The ordinary Draugr are fairly weak, but the restless ones are a little bit stronger. Aye aye. I'm not sure whether that one's going to move or not, and then I move a bit closer to it and it detects me, and of course it's going to move. I mean, I really knew better than that. Clearly, still haven't noticed that Feindal's run out of arrows. I'm still letting him run around with a little dagger. He's got no armour. And I could have given him some armour, I could have given him a better weapon. Certainly could have given him some spare iron arrows. There's another potion there, nearly missed that one. Now, Ustengrav is one of these quite extensive Nord ruins. Some of them are not quite as extensive as this, but this being part of the main quest is somewhere that they know you're going to come, and so it's you know, the best type of location. All the ones which are like associated with quests tend to be, especially if it's a main quest, tend to be extensive and interesting and sort of have unique properties to them. This one's got a couple of cool things about it, which we will see for the first time here. I've been in a few of these Nord ruins, and you're probably already familiar with the idea that a lot of them have a door that you have to open with a claw, and they have a word wall, and that the word wall is like protected by some kind of boss. There's no claw for Ustengrav. It's different. I think about casting candlelight so that I can see better, but I never do. Oh, come on then. Don't know why I was taking so long to decide. Yeah, Feindal, it is pretty impressive, isn't it? You see what I'm shooting at down there? I can barely make it out, but that was actually a skeleton. Oh. Nearly snuck up on me. Now, I spotted these and I recognised something about them. See those little holes? They're flame jets. And some of them have a black centre in the pattern of the stones, and some of them have a white centre in the pattern. Which are the trapped ones that will fire jets of flame at you? Well, not those ones. See, I stood on it and it was fine, but I stood off it so quickly I wasn't sure. Is this one going to do flames? Yes, it is. See? Yes. Flames. So now you know what it looks like. This is the safe one. That's the unsafe one. This is a safe one. You hear all that? Something moving around. Yeah, there it is. He's not coming out again. But let us proceed. Now remember to quick save. In these earlier videos I too often would forget. I'd get so engrossed in what I was doing and talking to you and everything that I'd sometimes forget to do a quick save, which then just leads to having to go back and do a lot of stuff all over again if I end up accidentally dying. Most of which I actually leave in the videos, but sometimes, like today, when it involved running back over a whole load of blank countryside in a blizzard, I decided to edit out. And then he runs up there, and then you hear that? That is the sound of Faendal finishing it off for me. And at what point, somewhere in here I will, but at what point in here am I going to realise my following is out of ammo? He really ought to have some kind of a dialogue thing where he like says something like, sure would be nice to have some arrows, or something like that, that would like remind you. Cause I think what happened was I must have thought to myself, oh, he just has an infinite supply of arrows because he's a follower and he doesn't have to keep track of his arrows like me, because sometimes it sort of works weird like that in games, like in a game where your armour gets damaged and you have to repair it, and anything you give to a follower doesn't get damaged and you don't need to repair it. So maybe I was thinking, oh well, all I have to do is look after my own arrows and he'll just have infinite arrows. As long as he's got a bow, he's fine. And that's not what happened, of course. He started with a supply of his own arrows and then he used them up. Now this is flammable liquid and fire pots here. See the hanging fire pots and that liquid that has a sort of strange orangey pink cast to it, and then they'll pop out and I want to fire up at that and set fire to it, but the arrow drops short because I'm firing up, and then by the time I actually do hit the fire pot, Feindal's run in and he got immolated. Did you hear him go, "What are you doing?" Because I damaged him. But also interesting the way the fire pot bounces slightly before it shatters, which it wouldn't have done at all, of course. But yeah, sorry about that, Feindal. And that must be the point where I realised, why did he run in and melee when he could have shot him? And so I decided to look in his inventory, and I click on weapons and I see he's got no arrows, and then I'm like, oh, that's why he keeps running into melee. So now I'm going to give him some arrows. Well, I will when I figure out to press R to actually give him something. So I equip my ancient Nord arrows and give him the iron arrows. That's right. I'm getting about 100. That's what I was after. Give me about 100. 105. Near enough. Don't know what that noise is at all. It's not in the game. I didn't make it. I mean, I didn't make it. The whole reason I'm having to record this commentary is because you can't hear anything I was saying because the mic was turned off. But they just like a weird artifact noise. The sort of thing those people that like to make recordings of nothing and then say that they can hear voices in it like to pick up. They're just audio artifacts. It's nothing else. There aren't ghosts in the computer. Check this out though. See the little skelly down there? Something's fallen down and landed on that fire trap pressure plate, look. Oops-a-daisy. And it's so dark down here that I didn't spot that that was one with the black centre, which you don't stand on. You need the ones with the white centre, that's it. This is a safe way. Oops. Another skelly. There we go. Soul gems and garnets and things. Get some more ancient Nord arrows. Thankfully in this game skeletons don't have resistance to piercing damage, like we do in D&D. Cause a lot of space between the bones. Like there's one sitting in the throne there. Oops. That didn't actually fire properly because I was firing down at such an angle. It sort of stuck in the ledge. Enchanter's potion. Now we come down here. If you look down, you can see there's the word wall, with a word in Draconic that I can learn, a word of power to help me with my shouts. It might be a new shout, or it might be an additional syllable of a shout I've already learned. Let's see. But you may be thinking, oh well, if there's a word wall, there's going to be some kind of boss that's going to be protecting it. It's going to jump out at any moment. Are you thinking that? Is that what you're thinking? You hear the chanting of the word waiting to be learned, the sound of my destiny. Fade, become ethereal. Now that is quite a handy shout to have. I seem to remember using that shout as a sort of panic shout where you really need to get out of a fight because you're getting hammered, and then you use that and you just sort of go all ghostly. You can't attack, but you can't be attacked. You basically become insubstantial, and that saved my life on many occasions, so that's a good shout to have. Not that we've got any dragon souls to power it with at this stage, but we've learnt the first word of that shout, and as you can see, nothing popped out and attacked us. How strange. So now I break out my clairvoyance spell because I want to know where to go next. Surely somewhere around here has to be the hold of Jürgen Woodcaller. Shows me a little blue path to follow. All the way back up here. I really did do my best to get rid of those weird annoying noises in the background. You know, I noticed that one of the frequencies is intermittent. So one of the higher frequencies keeps coming on and then going off, and it's regular. Comes on for like, I don't know, about 12 seconds, and then goes off for a few seconds, and then comes back on again. There's up there, do you see it? On the skeleton. Now this next bit's a little bit interesting, but I also had a bit of a problem, so at some point, there you go, so that lit up when I approached it, and I thought, oh, that's a bit strange, and then I approached that one lit up, and then I noticed that the portcullises in that tunnel were lifting. So there are 3 portcullises and 3 stones. Each stone corresponds to one of the portcullises. So again, I need to approach the stones to activate them. Then I remember, wait a minute, didn't I kill a skeleton up here? Let's go loot it before I come out. Pardon me. Yeah, so now I'm going to try and get out through here by opening all 3 of these, and then I think to myself, wait a minute, what I need to get through there before they all shut is my whirlwind sprint power. Whirlwind sprint. So I switch to that, and then nope, I got too far away from the stones. So, and I try it, and somehow I catch on something. Wasn't quite lined up right. So I have another go. Look at how my shout isn't on cooldown though, which is a bit weird. Normally when you use a shout it goes on cooldown, you can't use it again straight away. but it almost immediately, you see, it lights up the compass at the top and then goes off again immediately. Something weird going on here. It should work, and then I'm just stopping for no reason and the shout goes off cooldown, so I can try it again immediately. Well, anyway, not long after this video should start being sped up so that you don't have to watch me trying over and over again at normal speed. Now that time I left it too late before I did it, and the first one had already shut, and you notice now it is on cooldown like normal. Isn't that strange? When I did it too late, it goes on a cooldown like normal. That time I moved too far away from the stones. So funny hearing me shout when I'm all sped up. Come on. What are you waiting for? There we go. Okay, so I go into sneak mode. Why? Because Fendel doesn't like the looks? Or find the safe path? See, almost the entire floor is made out of these flame traps, but there is a safe path. And there are spiders over there. Do you see the spiders? Do you see the spiders? And then Fendel stood on something behind me. That wasn't me set that off. That was my follower. I'm sure of it. And a big mama spider. I decide, wait a minute, let's soul trap the big mama spider. And you just have to hit it once. That's right. Well, that worked. And I only had to let the spider bite me a couple of times. Search the egg sac to get a spider egg, which is an alchemical reagent. That desiccated corpse is empty, but we've got some frostbite venom to get off the spiders. And of course my arrows. And now Fendel's got some arrows again. He can shoot at enemies, which is good. So he was helping me out there by shooting it, not running into melee with his little dagger, which is not very useful. That's got stuck on there. Don't know what's caught that out. And here you can see there are webs blocking the way, so we're going to switch to a fire spell to burn the webs away. Okay. Fire is good at burning cobwebs. Slightly singed the door as well, but that doesn't matter. And open up the gate. And now perhaps you're expecting a big boss fight. Hey! Oh look, something's coming up out of the water. Oh, what's going to happen? And here is the quest marker, and that must be the place. And nothing's come out to attack us. Where's the horn? Can you see a horn? I can't see a horn. There appears to be a piece of paper there instead. It's telling us we failed the quest and we have to read the note. Mysterious note. Dragonborn, I need to speak to you urgently. Rent the attic room at the Sleeping Giant Inn in Riverwood and I'll meet you. A friend. So it all starts getting a bit cloak and daggers now. Somebody got here before me, took the horn and left that note for me. Chutzpah. And presumably that explains why there wasn't some terrible boss to fight and there was instead just that Droga corpse in the corner. Of course they must have taken that out when they came to get the horn. Oh, the anticlimax. But at least they didn't loot this back room. I mean, that chest will still be full of loot, won't it? Of course it will. I mean, stealing a quest item's one thing. Stealing the actual loot, can't have that. Yep. See, still got the loot in. Not particularly useful loot for me though. Dwarven shield of blocking. It's super heavy. I don't use shields. The blocking enchantment's only any good for people that block, and if I'm doing dual wielding I can't block. And I decided to make this a dual wielding build, so all in all, not the best. Novice robes of destruction. Destruction spells cost 12% less to cast. Magicka regenerates 50% faster. But it's not light armour, and I want to wear light armour. But I take the shield anyway because I decide maybe I can sell it, or maybe I can disenchant it and learn the enchantment. Disenchanting items is good for your enchanting ability, even if you don't particularly want the enchantment. You can still disenchant items to train yourself in the skill. Okay, so now we're heading back out. Where do you think we're going to come out? Head down this little passageway. Why yes, of course, we come out at that secret door that we saw before that had no means of opening it from the other side. See? That very secret door that we mentioned earlier. I'm just pointing it out on the map. See, I was talking this whole time when I was recording the video, but the thing is, I didn't realise that the mic was muted, obviously. I mean, I say obviously, I'm pointing it out now in case it wasn't obvious. But yeah. I just come up here in. I'm looking at that thing there, like, can you get up onto it? But it doesn't look like you can. So we head out, having cleared Ustengrav. Although we don't have the Holy Jaeger wind caller, because somebody got there first. Somebody got there first, and now we're supposed to go to Riverwood and go in the tavern and ask to rent the attic room, and apparently they'll know to come and speak to us. But there's another quest just a little way further over to the west, so I think my intention was to do that quest next instead of meeting with whoever took the horn straight away. We're going to try and do this other quest instead, the one about the Goldor legend, I think. Also, there's to find the source of power in Hag's End. Now, in a little while here, I'm going to open the map, and then I'm going to fail to find the quest markers from my miscellaneous quests. And I now know why they didn't show up, because in addition to marking them off in here, I also have to, on the left hand side, click on where it says miscellaneous to show that I want my miscellaneous quests marked on. And I don't do that. So when I open the map, I won't see the markers. But back then, I didn't really realise that that's what I had to do, or that that's what I hadn't done. So when I open the map and I can't see the markers, that's what's going on there. So yeah, alright, I'm looking for me markers. Where are me markers? Where are me markers? Shouldn't there be one? And I'm looking on here. Oh, find the source of power in Hag's End. Someone sent me a letter saying, and it was around there somewhere, I remembered it was, but no marker. So I put my own marker on instead. There you go. And I was pretty accurate to where the original marker was. Not perfect, but pretty accurate. And we're now in the swampy area where the death bells grow, Hjalmarch, where there's Morthal, the capital of Hjalmarch. I quite like Morthal, but we haven't been there yet. We won't be going there for quite some time. I still haven't been there when I'm recording this. I walked past some canis root there without realising I could harvest it. What a pity. I like canis root. It's useful in two very good potions. One is the potion of marksmanship. I won't tell you what the other potion is. And there's another alchemical ingredient. Swamp fungal pod. And I spot that there's a little hut over there, and I decide to go over there to discover the hut. Walk past another canis root. So I recognise it now. Abandoned shack. Now something somewhere is attacking something. And for some reason I thought it was someone over there on that island is attacking me. That's what I thought. But it's not. It's Faendal, and he was shooting at something. And I went to swing thinking it was an enemy in the mist. I mistook him for an enemy. But it was Faendal, and I managed to avert my swing at the last there and didn't hit him. I wonder whether he thought I was an enemy in the mist and was shooting at me. I never did see what it was he was shooting at. Now, we're coming up to some more ruins here. And I didn't realise at the time, I don't think, but that's where one of my quest markers would have shown was on these ruins, because there is in fact a quest at these ruins on this route for the Goldor quest, but I hadn't highlighted that quest, so it's not active currently. Folganther is one of the locations that I need for that quest, but thankfully I decided to go in anyway. Right, so we're coming to the end now. I'll stop the episode here before